Hello, people. How's it going? Well, here in Minnesota, snowfall, and I do mean first major snowfall. As I ride a bike all year long, um, it was quite interesting going to work this morning. But most of the roads plowed nicely, but some areas I think they went around. They were going in a straight line, and all of a sudden they did this. It's like, okay, make my life difficult. But I got to work. It was a lot of snow. Still a lot of snow. But anyway, Um, I'm going to do the book reviews, but I'm not going to do all those books at one time. Not going to happen. It would take too long. It would bore you to. It would bore you to death. It might even bore me, only because it'd be so long. It'd be kind of not fun anymore. So I'm still got other books coming. I'm going to try to get the first stack you saw done. The stack here. I'm going to do those today. Uh, I like books, people. I have an addiction. I like books. People, what are you gonna do? I like books. But anyway, let's get going. Stainless Steel Rat, well, one of the short stories is in here. I started reading Harry Harrison in Florida when I used to live there. I started reading the Stainless Steel Rat series. I like that series. I used to have all the books. Now I'm starting over, of course, but this is a collection of short stories. The last Stainless Steel Rat stories in here. Short story. The story for the what would become eventually the movie Soylent Green. And I also had the book that was loosely based on too, called Make Room, Make Room. He also wrote. But yes, what's it called again? The Roommate? I believe it's called The Roommate. Yeah, The Roommates. Sorry, Roommates. But anyway, I like short stories. I like Harry Harrison. I always liked his stuff. I still do. Fun to read. I like science fiction. I don't know. Yeah, I think it was the 80s. I think it was the early 80s when I discovered the Stainless Steel Rat series. The original Phantom of the Opera, the actual novel, not anything related to the movies. Well, barely related to the movies. But I don't know. I remember correctly. I liked this book. I liked the movies because they were, well, loosely based on the book. But the Phantom of the Opera, well, anyway. And I'm throwing books around. When the ghost is knocking them out of my hand. The Bronx Zoo by Sparky Lyle. Billy Martin. George Steinbrenner. The Yankees of the 70s. He's in the Hall of Fame finally. That's good. Took a while, but Sparky Lyle's career as a Yankee. I know he played for other teams too. Not sure if that's in here. Let's see. I think this just deals with that 1 year. I think this deals with the that 1 year they won it the first time. It was '77 when I believe Reggie destroyed my poor Dodgers. Oh, that was a sad time. But Yankees were good back then. They had Reggie. They had Greg Nettles, Willie Randolph, Thurman Munson, Chris Chambliss. I know I'm forgetting somebody. Mickey Rivers. That's what I was thinking too. Mickey Rivers, Ron Guidry, Tommy John. I don't know. Is Tommy John 77 Yankees? I'll have to look it up. But it's a good book. It's a good little bio of life as a New York Yankee. And then we got the Brent Tarkington, because I do live in Minnesota. Mr. Viking. I think he went to all four of their losing Super Bowls. I think. I haven't checked. I don't know if he went to the first one that they lost against the Chiefs. I don't remember. I should have looked it up. I know he went to the other three. Of course, the last one he lost, he lost to my Miami Dolphins, which is also the last time my Miami Dolphins won a Super Bowl. Sad. Anyway, but yes, I like that. A lot of these are books I used to have, and they're old books, but I like these older books because the older books are a lot better in a lot of ways. But yeah, Francis Tarkington. Here's a good quarterback. Now, I picked this up, the Communist Manifesto, because this country is turning into a communist country, and you know it is. You can call it socialism, totalitarianism, communism, whatever you want to call it. This is the future if people don't stop thinking politics is the answer for everything. But I also bought another. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. But I read this in the '80s, but I wanted a copy again. I used to have Mao's Little Red Book. I don't know where it went. I think it went out a window. Long story. But yes, worth reading if you want to know where this country is headed. It's a biography of General Maxwell Taylor, the sword and the pen. Let's see. Friend of Kennedy's, statesman, scholar, linguist, idealist, soldier, General Maxwell Taylor trained and parachuted, I can't speak words, parachuted with the 1st Airborne Troops on D-Day. Let's see. Within the forefront of the Berlin blockade, leading the 8th Army in Korea, advised JFK of the Cuban Missile Crisis, foreign policy of Vietnam. Sounds like an interesting guy, and I will always read history. So I have one of those Bantam War book series, so that might be interesting. I hope. And I used to have this book, Political Philosophy. I like political philosophy. I don't like politics. Political philosophy to me is not the same thing. It just isn't. Political philosophy. And he's cool. He's interesting. On liberty and other essays. I also bought a book similar to that one, only because I think this one has more of his essays, that has less. So on liberty and utilitarianism. Don't ask me to expect to say that word. I'm not going to say that word. Utilitarianism. I can't talk. But I bought this because I think this has less than this has. So I have a tendency sometimes to buy books, even though they're the same, if they have something the other one doesn't. And this one has more than this one does. But he was an interesting political philosopher. He influenced Jefferson, I believe. Let's see. John Stuart Mill's 1806, 1873. Well, couldn't have Jefferson. Who am I thinking of then? Oh, well. I'm sure I'm thinking of somebody else. What am I thinking of? I know one of those philosophers influenced Jefferson. I'm drawing a blank who it was. Well, anyway. It'll come to me at some point. Is the most important of Britain's 19th century philosophers. His writings and activities were many and varied. The works reprinted in this volume were first published during the prolific 10-year span, from 1859 to 1869. On Liberty, 1859. Considerations on Representative Government, 1861. Utilitarianism, 1863. And the Subjection of Women, 1869. Are four of his most famous works. So well, who am I thinking of? It's going to bother me until I look it up. If it wasn't Mills, who am I thinking of? Oh, well, doesn't matter. It'll come to me. It'll come to me after this video is over. But I do like political philosophy. I don't like pure politics. I mean, there's a difference. See, politics has been turned into this I don't know. But anyway, political philosophy is fascinating. But it has a tendency to morph into totalitarianism, into dogmas, to almost abandon why they originally were philosophies in the first place. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. But I did have this book a while ago. And I didn't have this one. I had this one. But that's okay. This is the other book on Communist Manifesto I got. Marx and Engels, the Communist Manifesto. But this one also has the conditions of the working class in England and socialism, utopia, and scientific. This is where this country is headed, people. Unless certain people like this country wakes up before it's too late, and the church wakes up before it's too late, because I am almost convinced the church thinks this is important as the Bible and gospel, and Jesus better agree with them or else. I wish I were kidding, but I'm not. But I am trying to find a good biography on Marx and Engels. I haven't found one yet, but I did keep looking. But anyway, let's see, where was I? Trying to keep this nice and organized. This is why I'm not going to do all the books at one time. It would take too long and it'd be too crowded. And that's a lot of books, people. Come on, that's 2 months. That's 2 months of books and Half Price Bookstore and thrift books and Amazon. And I think I do have more books coming, which is why I'm starting to do this now. James Clink's Isaac Newton, good book. He did one also on Richard Feynman, which I found a great book. And his book on chaos theory, fractals and all that. But I like Isaac Newton. I like him as an author. Isaac Newton was an interesting guy. Yeah, but anyway, he was an interesting guy. Good book. He's a good author. I like him. Him and James Reston. James Reston did one on Galileo. He also did one on the Defenders of the Faith during the Reformation, which is also a good book. I'm gonna have to read the back of this because I'm not gonna be. I vaguely know what this book is about, but yeah, it's Jewish history. It does take place after the Holocaust. November 1944, the British government finally agrees to send a brigade of 5,000 Jewish volunteers from Palestine from Israel to Europe to fight the German army. But when the war ends and the soldiers witness firsthand the horrors that their people have suffered in the concentration camps, the men launch a brutal and calculated campaign of vengeance, forming secret squads to identify, locate, and kill Nazi officers in hiding. Their own ferocity threatened to overwhelm them, and until a fortuitous encounter with an orphan girl set the men on a course of action, rescuing Jewish war orphans and transporting them to Israel. I'm not going to say the word Palestine because Palestine doesn't exist. Palestine has never existed. You can blame the Roman Empire for changing it from Judea to Palestine. Palestinians don't exist. They are originally from Jordan. Read the history book, people. Anyway, I had this book originally and then I lost it and I got another copy. But looks interesting. Sounds interesting. Anything having to do with Jewish history is generally interesting. Generally. Not always, but generally. Then I got a book on Joan of Arc. Why not? I'll read anything. I like history. Even though I tease and make fun of the French. The French, by and large, are pretty interesting. And their history is interesting. Of course, the next book will prove that they are. But Joan of Arc, The Maid of Orleans, I've read part of it. It's not bad. It's not a bad. And then everybody's favorite or least favorite Frenchman, Ducul. I am French. I am France. You peasants, listen to me. This is part one of a two-part book of De Gaulle, the Rebel, 1890 to 1944. That's actually a good book. He was an interesting guy. An opinionated, self-absorbed, arrogant, so on and so forth. But he led France through the war. He did return. He did what he said he was going to do. But he was an interesting guy. I had the other one, but like I said, I'm redoing books now that I lost. But De Gaulle was interesting. Not as interesting as Churchill. Churchill was far more interesting because I like Churchill. I like Churchill more than I like De Gaulle anyway. Václav Havel. I know nothing about him other than he was a playwright and he ran to. I hate it when I get these things wrong. Czech Republic. I'm about to say Czechoslovakia, but Czechoslovakia, I think, ceased to exist by the time he was president. I only know about him because of his plays. I mean, it is a political tragedy in 6 acts, as the book says, but I'm more interested in his writing and his plays. This is the only book I could find when I found it. I found it by accident. But we'll see. Oh, I'm running out of room. Why does it do that? Sometimes this thing acts like I'm not online, but I know I am. And I said yes to everything, Lee Grant. Some actresses, some actors are interesting. They're worth reading about. Present day ones, not so much. The ones way back when were interesting. Some of them were anyway. And I've seen some of her movies. I remember some of her movies. So I cost $3. I'm not going to worry about it too much. So that's the first pile that I am going to take care of. I'm sure there'll be there are other piles, believe me. This is the tip of the very large iceberg I'm trying to get through. I like books. I always have. I collect them. I like them. I I I don't know. I can't. Well, as Thomas Jefferson once said, I can't imagine life without books. And the rate civilization is going in this country and the rest of this planet, good books and information and civilization is going to destroy itself. Now, granted, once I'm dead, they're going to burn all these things, and all trace of my library will go up in flames like the Library of Alexandria. But until then, I'm going to try to preserve as much of them I can. I got all messed up. Dig all. Trying to multitask. I'm not good at multitasking. Well, not in this case, anyway. Anyway, I like books. I cannot go into a bookstore without buying one. I read probably more than I do anything else. It's fine. I enjoy reading. But that's the first stack of books. I should actually do a panoramic view of this room for people to realize just how many books are in here and what this room looks like. Because the room is about 10 by 10. It might be 8 by 10. I can't tell. I think it's shorter that way than it is that way. I think. But that's my part one of my book reviews and what I've bought up to this point. Hope I wasn't too boring. Well, see you later, people. Behave yourselves, because you know I'm not going to. So behave. Later. Have a good weekend.